Hi all, welcome to my new little vlog here. Right before us, I've got my front and my canvas. I'm just going to take off that canvas to show you. So my front's done now. I've got the pockets in there. Put some beautiful jetty pockets in it with my beautiful world map lining in there. And I'll just put that flap in. You can see I've done a beautiful double, what we call a double jetty pocket there. So that's really nice when the camera can see that. So I'll take that. So I've done a double jetty pocket with flaps, and I've actually angled the flaps as a little designer touch there. It's so it angles right out there. And I've actually launched, I've actually just nearly finishing off a tutorial on a course on how to actually make the jetty pockets and the flap and the welt pocket. It's very comprehensive, very in-depth. I think it's probably 2.5 hours long, which you won't find anywhere on YouTube or anywhere like that. You'll see in all of my courses, I always explain what I'm doing. I always explain the hows and the whys you will not find anywhere else. So I used to teach in schools and for various organisations. So teaching is an art form, and you know, I can get the most complicated subject and break that down into little segments, bite-sized chunks, and that even kindergarten children can understand, and that is the art form of teaching. So, you know, whatever you'll see me teach on my courses, that I simplify everything for you. So this will be available to buy on my website soon. I'll let you know about that. Anyway, I don't want to waffle on too much. So the front now is going to be placed onto the canvas. The canvas is the scaffold, and this is the scaffold, and this is the body. This gives it the body, and it gives it the shape as well. As you can see here, I've actually put princess seams here, like we call a panel seam, and this has got to reflect on the canvas here. This is a pure wool canvas. You can see I'll put a princess seam here as well. So now also, I did mention on one of my earlier vlogs, I've actually put what we call a gorge cut. You can barely see it. This is a gorge cut. It's basically another dart here, and this is usually on full chested people, especially like if men are all got really big chest, developed chest, you've got to put a gorge cut there, and actually will fit over the chest more. Even though I've done this panel seam on this woman's jacket there, I've actually put a gorge cut as well. Basically it's a dart. That's to give it more of a fit over the bust area, and it does fit the woman even better now. So I'm going to place this on the canvas now, as you can see. Let me just try and pan this out a little bit here if I can. No, it won't let me, but anyway, I think you've got it in full view. Let me just bring this up a little bit there. Okay, that's fine. Now, I place this, usually it will go seam on the princess seam, but a lot of tailors will do that, but I offset mine because I don't want any bulk. He won't, you know, do anything more than just offsetting it. I'm offsetting just, you can see I'm just offsetting it a little bit from the seam. I don't want to put seam on seam. I don't want to bulk it out. And this is a bulky fabric, this tweed fabric anyway. So I'm just fractionally just offsetting it there. It should be fine. Just give it a little press there now. And I'm going to base this down. So it's going to hold the front on top of the canvas whilst I'm working on it. So now here at the top here, I'm just going to try and pan in a little bit there. Bring this round here now. Here at the top, as this panel seam goes down, this is your bust cup is there, and this gorge cut actually emphasises even more. It shapes it even more there. So this actually, you've got this fullness there, and I'm not going to do anything to that. That actually has to be there to fit over the contours of the bust area. So I have to retain this fullness here. So what I do, many times I've got different ways. I'll get a ruler, quite a little thick ruler here, and I'll place it on the edge of the seam, the edge of the panel seam, and that will be flat there, but that will retain, this side will retain as I'm basting this down. And once I finish that, when I'm going to do the other side, I'll put the ruler on this seam, that will be flat, this will be raised up, and I'll baste along that, and that will retain that excess there. So the very first thing I'm going to do now is I'm just going to go along this seam here. That's what I'm going to do there. So I'm just going to get my basting thread. I'll just do one or two for you so you can see and understand what I'm doing. But I'm not going to bore you too much, and I'll get back to you when it's all done, and we'll go on to the next stage, which will be pad stitching the lapels. So that's another little fascinating part of making a pure bespoke jacket. So if I can just get this. So it's fascinating tailoring is. It takes many years to become a pure bespoke tailor. There's a lot of components with a jacket, and you've got to understand each part, each stage of making up a pure bespoke jacket. So here now, I've got the ruler underneath, so I'm going to retain this fullness here. So I'm just going to come a few inches down from the shoulder line, and I'm just going to just base that place. Keep it flat. You can see. You can do what we long running stitches, but you never ever have your stitches tight. Have them loose, because if you have them tight, you can create little pockets of fullness in here, which you do not want to do. So I'm just going to just have this ruler there. That'll be fine there now. And I'm going to keep this flat. There are some tailors that actually as the base in the front, they'll actually push the fabric in to create fullness in the canvas. My one tailor said, do not do that. You don't want to be creating any fullness, because you know you'll have some trouble, because the jacket, but conversely you don't want to have the canvas tight as well, because you'll pull the front. But as long as you have it flat here, it should be fine. You know, so you see I'm just keeping that totally flat. I'm not pulling anything, I'm not pushing anything. And usually tailors will put it on the wooden table. I've got oops, daisy, look. Let's put that back there. I've got a tabletop with fabric on, because I press a lot of my garments on this table, so I don't want to be taking this cloth off. And but the tailors will use some wooden top, and it's faster, because I've got to be careful, because I don't want to be catching the fabric underneath. So, but I'm waiting for a little wooden veneer tabletop to come through, so hopefully that should come through next few weeks, and you'll see my new tabletop then. So that's one line done, you can see, and I'll just take off that ruler now, it's fine. And then I'm going to do another line, so I'll keep doing some lines. You'll see I think a lot of these Italian tailors, they've got hundreds of tram lines going down the jacket. You only want to put enough just to keep this fabric in place on top of the canvas. And you know, every tailor's got their own way, and they'll explain why they've put so many tram lines to hold their fronts on top of the canvas. But my Irish tailor is one of the best tailors in the world. I'm following his method, and so, and he was telling me why, you know, you don't need that much to hold things down. So I'm just going to come to this, to here, near this break line now. So it takes many years to master jacket making or pure bespoke tailoring, because there's so many components to the jacket. You've got to keep practicing at each stage. I mean, even just finishing off a jacket, you know, with your buttonhole stitches, it can take up to 100 buttonholes for you to become proficient. So that's another area where you need to learn as well, you know, and that can take many hours just to get the beautiful buttonholes which we put on at the end. You see, I'm keeping this flat. I'm not putting any fullness. I'm just keeping this totally flat there, and I'm not being tight with the stitches. You can see the stitches a little bit loose. That's how they should be. You can see. And then I'm just going to just tack that down there, and I'm going to move on to this side now, just make sure everything's nice and flat. I'm not going to bore you here now, so I'm going to get on and finish off the jacket, and I'll get back to you when I've finished everything, when I've tacked everything down. Right, here we are now. So you can see I've basted the fronts down onto the canvas now. You can see that now. And now I'm just going to trim off all of this excess canvas because we don't need all this excess now. Trim this all off now. You can see. So we always lay extra on the canvas and we trim it all off afterwards. So you can see now it's all virtually done now. I'm using my great 13-inch shears. I'm sure I might have said this before. I got this from a great tailor who sadly died last year. He made Muhammad Ali, the famous boxing champ, a suit when he came to England. And I'm not sure whether you use these shears, but if you did, there's great history there. But this is from beautiful shears. I don't need to sharpen them at all. And I think I've had them for a good year. And that's the beauty of when you get good quality shears, you don't need to sharpen them that often. And there we have that. So I always get into the habit now, because I remember when I was training to do tailoring, my tailor went mad at me. And because I always, he said, always keep your table clean. He said, I was chastised severely. So it kind of traumatized me a little bit. So here we have that. So I always try and keep my little tabletop clean as clean as I can. And of course I've got a cloth on, so it's a little bit difficult sometimes. And I've got to keep changing this cloth over every few minutes anyway. There we go. So there we have that. So that's ready now, and the next stage is I need to trim off this canvas to 2 seams. So this is what I'm going to do now. So this will be my next little vlog there. So I'll just say ciao for now.